Hello everyone. Before we start, I want to issue a content warning. So we are going to be talking about the Activision Blizzard lawsuit in this episode, which means that we're going to be talking about some serious topics. So if you are uncomfortable with topics such as sexual harassment, suicide, sexual assault, any of those kinds of topics relating to the lawsuit, I recommend skipping this episode. We have a backlog, and we're more than happy for you to skip this one and come back when episode 11 releases. Anyway, on with the show. Hello everyone, welcome to Golden Chips, and no funny intro today. No joke, no stick at the UK, no joke about the F1 or my hairline or George's mustache. No, this is a serious one. I'm going to warn people ahead of time. This is a serious topic. This is discussing the Activision Blizzard lawsuit, and that brings in pretty contentious topics. So if you're uncomfortable with topics like sexual harassment, sexual assault, any of those topics of the nature, I recommend skipping this episode and going back to some of our previous episodes, but consider this your content warning. So that being said, I mean, you all right, George? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm more aware now, but very much aware of what's going to happen with this, so it's definitely it royally pissed me off, to say the least. I think is one of the easiest ways of putting it. Excuse my French, but and I'm just disgusted. Like, I watched a video this morning about, it was something completely different, and it was something about the state of Activision just generally with zombies, that they're one of their prone games, and the guy put in a little thing going like, oh, and obviously we know the state of Activision Blizzard at the moment and how the person doing the video didn't support it. And obviously coming on today, you said what the topic was going to be, so I've had a little more of research, and I'm gobsmacked, if I'm honest. It's disgusting. But we'll go upon that. Yeah,
because Activision Blizzard owns a lot of IP. It's like the focus is on the company, but
loads.
You think they've got the Call of Duty franchise, they've got Spyro, they've
Crash
got Crash Bandicoot, they've got Overwatch, they've got World of Warcraft, they've got StarCraft,
they've got loads.
They've got a lot of IP and a lot of developers by extension under their belt. So
100%.
It's like, when you put it into context of that and like how many teams and how many development studios under their wing, it feels dirty even saying that. But under their, I know what you mean, sort of. But under their umbrella. And it's like the amount of people that have been affected by this. But let's actually get into this. So, introduction. A bit of an introduction. So, following a 2-year investigation by the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, the state has filed a lawsuit against Activision Blizzard for fostering a frat boy culture in which female employees are allegedly subjected to unequal pay and sexual harassment. As reported by Bloomberg, Activision Blizzard is being accused by the state of California for discriminating against female employees at nearly all levels of employment, including in regards to compensation, promotion, assignments, and termination. So this isn't just like employees.
Jesus.
What that says to me, this isn't just like employees engaging in a bit of like what they call banter.
Yeah, because there's a fine line. You know, we all make jokes about certain things. And that. But when it comes to there's a point where it becomes harassment, and where it's just uncomfortable for the people involved. And at that point, you should stop. It's dark, as you know. It's like, I get there's a penchant for dark humor. I get that, but like, some people have a penchant for dark humor, especially in the UK. But there's a point where it crosses that line and it becomes actual harassment. And what that passage says to me is that it was beyond employees. It was company wide, like the full stack, up and down the stack, like from ground level employees all the way to senior management. It's like this problem was rife. Literally in this next passage. So definitely.
The state alleges Activision Blizzard's leadership has failed to address any of these outstanding issues or prevent them from occurring within the workplace. So exactly as we said. It's like it's a full stack. It's the full stack.
Yeah.
So the documents also accuse Activision Blizzard of fostering a pervasive frat boy workplace culture in the office. Male employees are said to drink copious amounts of alcohol as they make their way through cubicles, and often engage in inappropriate behavior towards female employees. Like, the presence of alcohol... All right, this may be a hot take for some, but I think like alcohol period doesn't belong in any workplace, like whatsoever.
No, if like you wouldn't have alcohol in. Imagine if like the retail world of work, right, where I currently stand.
Yeah.
If I just came into the shop floor, absolutely pissed out of my mind, drunk, that would be frowned upon 100%. So why is it different?
You get a disciplinary for that, without a doubt.
Disciplinary. Why is it different for a developing company?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That make games. No, there's other ways of getting through the day, and you don't need to. That's not an excuse.
Yeah,
that's stupid.
it's like,
that's a policy's allowed it.
I get that people have issues, and like if that's something that they turn to, they need help for that. But
yeah,
if that's
exactly.
if it stipulates, it's like it says male employees plural. So this wasn't just like one or two people going through a rough time and like coming
sort
into
of
work
like a
drunk.
Normal, like it's a normal thing that they've allowed to happen.
Yeah, and drinking on campus, as it says. This isn't even coming in. This is drinking on campus. It's like as they make their way through cubicles.
Yeah.
This is. It gets worse. It gets worse. So,
I bet it. I know. It's just there's so many layers to it.
So continuing to read the IGN article. So male employees are said to come to work hungover, play video games during work while delegating their responsibilities to female employees, engage in banter about their sexual encounters, talk openly about female bodies, and joke about rape. It's just not even gonna.
No, let's not even bother moving right on from that. Because as we all know, is just a no.
The lawsuit also cites one particular incident where a female employee who was already subjected to intense sexual harassment at the company committed suicide during a work trip with a male supervisor who allegedly brought inappropriate sexual items with him on the trip.
Nice.
I hate the fact that this is all this is alleged. Like a lot of it is, it's a legal term. It's a protective legal term. Is that alleging? But I wish that sometimes, it's a good thing that the state is now suing. Like it's a good thing. This is a 2-year investigation, mind. So the amount of evidence...
when I read that, that's what I was bloody hell. Actually, it's not like science. This has been going on for 2 solid years, and they've put a lot of research into it to ensure that they've got it correct.
I have reason to believe that it went on for far longer than 2 years. Like it's
without
just
a doubt.
It's just the investigation is 2 years. Like when it actually got enough attention to warrant the investigating body. So that says to me that there's
100%.
Went for a lot longer than it actually did.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, geez, this is tough.
It is. This is hard to talk about.
The lawsuit is asking for an injunction that will force Activision Blizzard to comply with workplace protections, as well as deliver unpaid wages, pay adjustments, back pay, and lost wages and benefits for female employees. See, if I was in that situation, if I was a female employee at Activision Blizzard, I would not be concerned with the money, because as far as if I was in their shoes, I would know that that's a company in the billions of dollars. So no matter what fine you staple on them, or no matter what back pay, or no matter what settlement payments they have to pay, that's going to be pocket change to them. Even in the in the millions, that's going to be pocket change. Like they can absorb that. So what I'd want to see is I wouldn't it would be nice to settle that, of course, because I imagine if that in that situation, it would also be nice to get the money, because that means I'd be able to live a little easier. But it's about the principle, and it's if they're going to pay off the issue, then the issue isn't solved, then it's still a problem.
Yeah, no, not at all. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, we actually got a statement from the company in response to the lawsuit as well.
Okay.
So Activision Blizzard spokesperson said the following statement in response to the allegations: "We value diversity and strive to foster a workplace that offers inclusivity for everyone." You know how that turned out. I'm going to save the commentary until after, I think.
Yeah.
Unless there's a point you need to, you want to interject with, I'm just going to try and keep a lid on my commentary. Anyway,
get through it. Get through it. We can discuss it after. It's completely. It makes sense too.
There is no place in a company or industry or any industry for sexual misconduct or harassment of any kind. We take every allegation seriously and investigate all claims. In cases related to misconduct, action was taken to address the issue. The DFEH, so that's the Department of Fair Employment and Housing. Department of Fair Employment and Housing includes distorted and in many cases false descriptions of Blizzard's past. We've been extremely cooperative with the DFEH throughout our investigation, including providing them with extensive data and ample documentation, but they refuse to inform us what issues they perceived. They are required by law to adequately investigate and to have good faith discussions with us to better understand and to resolve any claims or concerns before going to litigation, but they failed to do so. Instead, they rushed to file an inaccurate complaint, as we will demonstrate in court. We are sickened by the reprehensible conduct of the DFEH to drag into the complaint the tragic suicide of an employee whose passing has no bearing whatsoever on this case and with no regard for her grieving family. While we find this behaviour to be disgraceful and unprofessional, it is unfortunately an example of how they have conducted themselves throughout the course of their investigation. It is this type of irresponsible behaviour from unaccountable state bureaucrats that are driving many of the state's best businesses out of California. The picture the DFEH paints is not the Blizzard workplace of today. Over the past several years, and continuing since the initial investigation started, we've made significant changes to address company culture and reflect more diversity within our leadership teams. We've updated our code of conduct to emphasize a strict non-retaliation focus, amplified internal programs and channels for employees to report violations, including the Ask list with the confidential integrity hotline, and introduced an employee relations team dedicated to investigating employee concerns. We have strengthened our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and combined our employee networks at a global level to provide additional support. Employees must undergo regular anti-harassment training and have done so for many years. Okay, the statement goes on for a little bit longer, but I just want to interject. Like, this is one. Yeah. It feels like a nothing burger. It feels like a nothing burger to me.
Yeah.
Because what the main sentiments I'm taking right away from this is that it's taking no heed to what the investigating body actually found, and they're just passing the blame straight onto the investigation. So, because they talk about it's like sickened by the reprehensible conduct, bringing in the suicide of an employee. It was like if the suicide of an employee has a tangential relation, then they have a duty to investigate that. It's like, even if they turn up nothing,
no, for sure,
then they, as part of their investigation, because they're concerned with like employment, fair employment, and the employees, like regardless if they had a suspicion of it's to be believed, like my understanding of the investigation, and I want to discuss this, like I'm not an expert in this field, but my understanding of it is like you would investigate that, like you would look into that incident, because if that had a core issue that like presented a real problem as they published in the lawsuit, then obviously they have a moral duty to investigate that. I don't know, what's your thoughts? I've been talking for a good 5 minutes now.
I just generally at the moment, because this is new to me, like not new to me, like I said, I knew of it, but what you've been saying is not anything I knew about 100%. But I just think it's I just hate how it's like, I think what the way I see it is like, what's done is done. You've abused what you had. You've ruined your reputation through this. So it's going to take a lot for people to trust you again with everything they've done. Like, it's not even little things. It's like what I've read here is with a list of demands that seek to improve conditions for employees at the company, especially women, and in particular women of color, transgender women, non-binary people, and other marginal groups. At what point did they think, like, at what point was it ever, how did it get to that point where they were slagging? Why is it all women? Why were they slagging off and causing all this awful behavior and letting them get away with it for so long, for only to be like proper? I'm really just sort of confused as well as speechless about it, because it is just, it's just so disgusting. I don't know. I'm a bit in shock from what I've been hearing, basically. So I don't really have much to say.
I mean, you brought up a good point about how it's going to take a lot of people to trust the company again.
I think so.
There is very much a massive element of damage control. It's like deflecting That's something you see with a lot of companies that stoop into controversy. So companies like EA, companies like Ubisoft, well, like it's not equivalent. Like it's not on the scale of this case where they're being sued by a state for misconduct, but it's still you do see those common motifs of like damage control and like trying to deflect and say it's like, yes, we take this seriously, we took action, we value this, we value you. You see those motifs a lot, and so after a while you do begin to see through the curtain text almost. It's like you can glance past the sort of nothing text about how, say, it's like, yes, we take it very seriously, I assure you, and get to the root of it, which is just they are obviously like they're not happy with it because it paints them in a negative light, so they're
trying to get out of it.
They're trying to get out of it.
Yeah, like that's simple as it. They just don't want to be part of it, so they're like, oh well, it didn't really happen. It did happen, but don't worry. Like we're sorting it. We're getting onto it. It's like you've ruined it. You know, and I shouldn't have let it. And it's like the other thing that usually happens in this situation is that companies wait for it to die down. It's like people get tired of the story, people forget about it, which is why I think it's good that people like us and other YouTube channels and other places like that, which I am insisting, bringing it to attention.
I am making a plea to any listeners who are still tuned in at this point. Please share it. Share it amongst your friends.
Even if it's subtle, like the one I watched this morning, it was literally like the video wasn't about that, but he still took the time out for literally like a minute just to say like this. Activision Blizzard. Didn't need to say it, but he felt it by right of a consumer that he had to. And by right of the community, I feel it's then you can try to sweep it underneath the bus, Activision, but we're not. No one's going to let it happen.
We can't let this story go away until
needs to be spoken about.
Until
it's sorted, until it's dealt with,
until justice
and the
is
people
served.
Until the people that have done these awful things have been punished in the correct way, you know?
So I am making this plea to any of our listeners. Do share this around, because this is a serious topic and we're trying to keep it alive.
Please.
Here, it's like until justice is served, we can't let the story die. It's not a story, but it's like we can't let this situation just fizzle
issue.
out.
No, because they'll get away with it.
But so they talk a lot about how they've made internal changes, but it's like if you've got bad actors, no amount of corrective training is going to, like, at a core level. It's like, and especially as they said, it's like if this is a problem like full company wide, then if like your training is not going to do anything, because it's going to be training for ground level employees who aren't affected by the issue, who are the ones victim to the issue, whereas anyone above, like leadership, they're still like they are still going to be cause for the problem.
Have they said anything about in regards to the consumption of alcohol on the campus?
Because they didn't address
because that's something they should surely address, because the issue, I mean, sexual harassment obviously can happen with or without intoxication. However, I don't suppose intoxication it's not going to improve it, is it? It's not something they have a drink, next thing you know they're not going to talk about it. It's clearly stated on what I've read that it's at its worst when it's like that. So wouldn't that imply that they then also need to ban all consumption of alcohol while at work? No? But like, why haven't they addressed that? Little things like that, you know? It's just, like you said, doing the training against sexual harassment it is like one fix of the issue. There's so many other things they need to fix. Like, you're not going to stop it if people are still drinking on the job.
I say like that among like just a company culture, as they said, they fostered a frat boy culture, and I think that the alcohol is just like a product of that. So I think but it's like it's like kill the problem at the root. It's like you kill it at the root rather than the leaves, right? So It's like
pretty much. Yeah,
I guess that's why like the alcohol angle has been focused on less. If I had to say anything, it's just because it's like
that's fair enough.
The core culture, like the alcohol, is a byproduct of the culture they fostered. So,
yeah, that's fair. Okay, yeah, putting that perspective, that makes sense. That's definitely something. Hopefully, they work on as well because it doesn't help the situation either. I don't know if I've missed a point there, but
no, I think you've hit on everything. But we have moving on to the next thing. It's like we talked about how they're like deflecting and how they're very quick to sort of pass blame onto others. And I've actually we've got the response here next from the acting CEO of Blizzard, JL and Brack. So we got a personal, it's like an internal memo was sent out to employees, which obviously made the rounds online as someone released it to the public. So, hello Blizzard, I personally have a lot of emotions coming out of yesterday, and I know you do too. The allegations and the hurt of current and former employees are extremely troubling. I know many of you would like to receive more clarity. While I can't comment on the specifics of the case as it's an open investigation, what I can say is that the behavior detailed in the allegations is completely unacceptable. So, yeah, bit of nothing there. It's like it's almost just like to say that it was acceptable is to be less than human. So
yeah, for sure.
So it goes with saying that it's completely unacceptable for anyone in the company to face discrimination or harassment. It goes with saying that everyone should feel safe working here, whether they're on campus, at BlizzCon, or working from home. It goes with saying that it takes courage to come forward, and all claims brought to the company are investigated by internal and, when needed, external investigators. We take these claims very seriously. Claims can be made without fear of retaliation, and at many times I attend to them personally, along with our other leaders. See, that doesn't add up. No. From what we've heard with the lawsuit,
that doesn't make sense.
And yeah, it's like from the reporting so far on it, there's a disconnect there, because on one hand, they're saying they take these claims very seriously and it should be made in a risk-free environment. But on the other hand, you've got this culture that they fostered, this frequent harassment company-wide, and then to say it can be made without fear of retaliation. I don't believe that. No. It's like if you made a claim, because like this is from experience of what I had at school and at my first job. Okay. It's like if you made a complaint about someone, obviously, like it doesn't take a genius to know that, like if you're at the target of the complaint, if you're that person who's been causing the issues, it doesn't take a genius to know that if you're harassing a workmate and then you're suddenly pulled aside and had a talking to, or had a disciplinary, or had like corrective training of sorts, then it doesn't take Einstein to figure out, okay, this person reported me, which in a lot of cases is just going to get you targeted more.
Yeah.
It's why you trace back to school and the old sentiment of reporting the bullies, don't retaliate. That never worked, because it was extremely clear that if you reported the bullies, they knew you reported them. So once they served their punishment, they go in even harder.
Well, yeah, but exactly. I agree completely. That's exactly how they're not going to. It's not as easy as just going, oh, by the way, because you don't know who's around the corner. You don't know who you're gonna get involved with after that. There's always an aftermath to any, like, as much as these people need consequences, there's consequences to you reporting it to the people you need to. So with respect to it, 100%.
Yeah, it's like most HR departments are sworn to anonymity with these types of things, and fair enough, but it doesn't take a genius for both parties to figure out who done it. And if you're that bad actor in that situation, you're just going to pile on, and because they're just going to think, oh, I'm just going to get a slap on the wrist, and then we move on.
Yeah. Move on.
Which it sucks. It sucks. And it does. It just feels like a much worse. Like on some level, it feels like a parallel of like if you're in a toxic environment at school, like if you're getting picked on by a toxic group, then you're getting, like, if you can't do anything about it, unless there's like some like otherworldly third party, which in this case was the state of California and their investigation, to bail you out of there, then you all you can do is sit there and take it. And it's fucking disgusting, George. It's fucking disgusting.
No,
excuse the French,
it's awful.
but
No. I think this is the right time to use it. Like, it is just damn right, just disgraceful that they've let it get away with so long, for so long, and try to normalize it as well. I think
that's
is
the
what I've
worst
had an
part
issue
to me.
with. It's like, oh, don't worry. It's like, it's normal. It's like, it's not normal. It's never been normal for any of that situation to happen ever in any environment wherever you're in.
Yeah.
It's okay to make jokes about certain things, but when it comes to the point where it's obviously affecting the individuals, you need to reconsider. But don't try and get out of it by saying, well, yeah, but it's this community we've made. It's like, no,
that
not.
doesn't make it okay. It's like,
no, of course it doesn't.
Yeah, it's like if I got no dinner, if I misbehaved at home, then that would be normalized to me. It's like, if I misbehaved, then I wouldn't get food. That doesn't make it okay. But
doesn't make it okay. No. But
it's like, as a hypothetical, it doesn't make it okay.
No, that's fair.
That's what's normalized, and that's still disgusting, regardless of if that's the norm for you.
Yeah, exactly. So the what makes no sense is that they're trying to. It's just the justification of it. It's like, know that there is an issue here, and solve it. Don't pretend it, like, don't sweep it under and pretend it's like it happened, but it's all right. Because it happened and it's not all right, and it's just it's how it pisses me. It's so annoying. Sorry, but yeah.
No, I get you completely. So moving on with the statement. So stepping back,
go on.
When I talked with Bobby, as in Bobby Kotick, which is the CEO of Activision Blizzard, as in the entire group. When I talked with Bobby about taking this job, one of the first thing I mentioned was a revered saint of the Brack household, Gloria Steinem. Growing up, the value of women as equals, understanding the work that had been done for equal treatment, and the fact there was still much to do were common themes. This is just one of the reasons why the fight for equality is incredibly important to me. People with different backgrounds, views, and experiences are essential for Blizzard, our teams, and the player community. I disdain bro culture and have spent my career fighting against it. There's a lot of me there. There's a lot of me. That's what I'm.
He's trying to escape from the actual others. He's not involved. I'm not the one involved. Don't
worry, guys. I hate this problem too.
Yeah,
I hate it. Company. I've been trying to fight it.
You're the head chief of this company. You should have been involved. I don't know. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, it's like, if you're, regardless of your intent, it's like, I don't know J. Allen Brack personally. For all I know, he could be a nice guy. He could be very much against all of these issues. But the fact that he's enabling it under his wing, under his company, as the acting leader, it says to me, like, regardless of his intent, the action has fallen through. Like, he's failed as a leader, and as like to his company and to his employees, he's failed in that regard completely.
Yeah, easily. But yeah, there's a lot of he is trying to. There was, like you say, there's a lot of me, and he is just trying to make out that it isn't him. But you're the employer of these. You're the one that people look up to in a way, and why, who they want to become, and you're not your guys aren't setting the best example. So you need to address them and not try and get yourself out of it, basically.
It's like
more
it's like short of like some major players in the community, like other prominent streamers or prominent creators or like esports players. He is the poster boy for Blizzard. Like, when people think of the people within Blizzard, people think of him, and if this is the person that's steering the ship, then I am very worried. I'm very worried. But moving on. Iterating on our culture with the same intensity we bring to our games is imperative, with our values acting as our North Star. This is some of the most important work we do, both as professionals and human beings. A company is more than a legal construct that exists on a piece of paper in a filing cabinet in Delaware. The people that work in the company make it what it is through their actions and creations. Each of us plays a role in maintaining a place of safety for one another. It is also up to each of us to continue to craft the Blizzard we want and commit to doing our part in keeping Blizzard great, but always aspiring for more. Okay, I'm just going to knock this point. I know that we're talking a serious topic, but I love how he says, the people company make it what it is through their actions and creations. And if this is the internal atmosphere of what the company is, it makes sense why Blizzard products have been bombing recently. Warcraft 3.
Yeah.
The Warcraft 3 Reforged. Like, it makes sense why that bombed now.
That's true, to be fair.
And I think that's another good thing.
It's one way to think about
it. Yeah. I think that's another good topic, though, is that we've heard all of these reports. Like, you were looking at the COD Zombies and how that was like mismanaged. So not too long ago, an article also released regarding Warcraft 3 and how that was horribly mismanaged, about how Activision Blizzard basically pulled the plug on the project early.
You know what? It's probably it's never too late, like I say, to keep the story around. But I'm gonna watch that video with more depth with what I've learned from today. And basically, now that you said that, I think I didn't really understand what he was all about. But at one point, he was saying about COVID obviously having an issue during the pandemic. But then I think at parts he wasn't entirely blaming that. And as you said, was mismanagement. I feel that has a part to play of why he feels COD Zombies at their current state of it is so crap, because they haven't been prioritizing the right time and efforts and everything towards it as well, through awful management of the team and and everything else that's going on. Yeah, maybe if that.
Yeah, I think it brings a lot more nuance to it. Definitely.
Yeah,
I get what you mean in that sense. Yeah,
I don't know if I said that very clear enough, but
yeah, it kind of does tie into this whole media, like the media firestorm regarding to the lawsuit and the investigations and the years of internal issues. It does make sense why a lot of things, so like you say, COD Zombies on Activision side and like Warcraft 3 Reforged on the Blizzard side, and and it looks like Overwatch 2 is going to have a similar issue because they're one of their top guys, Jeff Kaplan, left seemingly without reason mid-development. And that doesn't inspire confidence. Now that makes a lot more sense as well.
Why did he leave without? Could it be because of how uncomfortable he may have felt maybe during it, or did he do something so bad that he had to leave? And they said, he just left under. We just don't know, obviously, at this point. But it's starting to, the puzzle's starting to get solved. I think.
Yeah, it's like
after so long,
with everything that's coming out here. It's like more of the pieces are falling into place as you hear more stories of like mismanagement, and you hear more stories of people speaking up about their experiences at Activision Blizzard and just how their products have been, and it's all starting to make a lot more sense about why things have turned the way they are, which it doesn't make it okay in any sense, but it gives a bit more credence to the how. It's like why, if there shouldn't be a why, because it's like absolutely reprehensible, but how it came to be makes a lot more sense. And I hope in that like people can start to piece together like a solution. That's the ideal scenario.
I think one of the best things is that the community is going for this and making it a big issue, because it's massively a big issue. Because we all know how skilled some of the people out there are in the world of what they can research into. Trying to keep it on topic, there is so many documentaries at the moment where people, community-based wise, actually find all these, they investigate on themselves. So leaving it in the hands of the community and bringing this to keeping it alive is vital, because more research can be found through leaving it in other people's hands and stuff,
having a third party in the mix is always turned. I mean, like, look at what's happened with like I think World of Warcraft. They staged like a virtual protest, a sit-in with like thousands of players just convened in the hub area.
I saw something about that.
Yeah, they convened in the hub area and basically just sort of sat in a virtual protest, which actually brings on a good point, is that I feel like, because this is a hot point of contention, because the way for a lot of people to protest this sort of thing is to not give the game any coverage, not give their games any sort of monetary value. So like, don't buy their games, don't spend microtransactions in their games, and don't play them. But I mentally, in my head, I am stuck in a middle, because giving them monetary support, so like buying their games and the microtransactions, that's completely understandable. Like, nobody should be doing that at this time. It's like, nobody should be buying the games, because that's going into the pocket of the company. But on the flip side of that coin, if you already have the games, then continuing to enjoy the games shouldn't be a crime, because I feel like it's like you're disrespecting the developers as well. And just like, I'm more open to conversation. So in the comments of the YouTube side, feel free to chime in. I'll be in the comments for the first few days when this releases, actively responding. But I feel like if you continue to play the games, then there's no shame in that, because you're still respecting the developers' work, because the games are the developers' work.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what people, I think, should, in a way, need to understand, is Activision are the publishers of the game. They're the ones that sort of like they sort of hype it up, they get it out there, like, oh guys, look at this, oh, how cool is this. The developers are the ones that spend the time making it. That's that's like, what so they've still got to play the games, because you're respecting, like you said, the developers of it. They've put the hard work in. Activision have taken it and sort of gone, we like this, enjoy, so
yeah, it's like, at least for the side of things like Call of Duty, so Activision are the publisher, but you've still got development teams like Treyarch, like Sledgehammers, like Raven, who are actually building the games. And in that sense, I feel like you shouldn't stop playing the games, because to do that would be a disrespect to the developers.
Because all the developers, they, at this point, if whatever happens with Activision, they can always find a new publisher. It doesn't have to be through Activision, or Blizzard, if we have to say less for them in particular. So unless something comes up about the developing team, you can't can't like boycott certain games because it's got the Activision publisher tag.
It's like, I get it in a sense, because it could be like senior development. Like,
true. They could have a part to play in it.
Leaders of the dev teams that could have been partaking in this sort of behavior, but still, it's like, at the ground level, you've got thousands of these developers who are building these games, building these experiences, and I don't know. You can see why I'm stuck in the middle with this one.
I am, because we just don't know enough at the moment. I think for me, I don't know if that's where you're heading with that.
It's like, that's always been a massive debate. It's like, are you endorsing the artist by buying their art? Because it's like, I can't remember who, I can't remember my name, forgive me, but there was a prominent like manga and anime producer who was convicted of being in possession of underage pornography. But it's but it's the whole case of like, what they produced is really good, but are you continuing to endorse them by enjoying their work and by publicly saying you enjoy their work? That's a big debate.
Like a Disney thing as well, though, isn't it? Yeah, like a Disney thing. Like, well, we all know how messed up Walt Disney was in some regard. With like, there is allegations and stuff like that, and rumors that he made disgusting, disturbing versions of Mickey Mouse and whatever that had never been seen light of day, and all these other things of like subliminal messaging and everything in his things. But he still made some amazing things and changed the way cinema and animation work for the world. So he had a talent there, but he was an absolutely weird man and very disturbing to it. So you've got to be able to sort of differentiate the is it the art from the artist, I think they say.
Separate the art from the artist.
So it's such a
there's a lot more nuance. Thing. That's a massive debate that we're not going to get into this episode.
No, that's a massive one. But as a straight up example.
Yeah.
I think that covers that basically.
Yeah. So yeah, to leave it on a footnote, it's like I feel like continuing to play the games is separating the art from the artist, in a sense of separating the toxic work environment from the fact that these developers managed to pull through and make these great games. It's like I love Overwatch. I'm gonna continue to play Overwatch. I'm not gonna publicly give a platform to it, but I'm still going to enjoy it on a personal level, because I feel like that's what the developers who were affected by this would want, because that's their work.
Yeah,
and I want to respect
that.
They
put effort into it.
But yeah, so to get back on topic, I say the J.L. Brax's statement goes for a little bit longer. He talks about how he's gonna answer questions, meet up with team, HR, legal team, etc. But it's like at that point you've gained enough of the general sentiment of the statement. It's like a lot of him, and I feel like that's the other point, is that as well as being a lot of him and it tries to invalidate. It seems like it's subtly invalidating the experiences of others, because he's talking about him so much, and about how he was talking about with Bobby about taking the job, about how he was mentioning a revere Satan of the Brack household, about how he disdained bro culture, things like that. It just seeks to invalidate what people have experienced.
No, that's exactly. It's lots of self-deprecation to himself, really. He's just trying to get himself out of it. Is that right to say self-dep? That's not the right one.
No, it's like more bigging himself up. I think the other way.
Yeah, the other way. Yeah, that's it.
So self-preservation and a lot of bigging himself up.
That's the one. Yeah, it's address the issue, not yourself, man. Yeah. Come on, it's sorry.
Yeah, so it's all right, but we've actually, it's like there is a lot of responses around the company. So you had JL and Brack. You actually had the former CEO before in Blizzard anyway. Before there was JL and Brack, there was Mike Morhaime, and he released a statement because obviously it would have been, for this investigation to conclude and sue like this, it would have gone on under his tenure as well. So, and to that end, he's also released a statement, which I'm going to read for you. I've read the full complaint against Activision Blizzard and many of the other stories. It's all very disturbing and difficult to read. I am ashamed. It feels like everything I thought I stood for has been washed away. What's worse, but even more important, real people have been harmed, and some women had a terrible experience. I was at Blizzard for 28 years. During that time, I tried very hard to create an environment that was safe and welcoming for people of all genders and backgrounds. I knew that it was not perfect, but clearly we were far from that goal. The fact that so many women were mistreated and were not supported means we let them down. In addition, we did not succeed in making it feel safe for people to tell their truth. It's no consolation that other companies have faced similar challenges. I wanted us to be different, better. Harassment and discrimination exist. They are prevalent in our industry. It is the responsibility of leadership to keep all employees feeling safe, supported, and treated equitably, regardless of gender and background. It is the responsibility of leadership to stamp out toxicity and harassment in any form across all levels of the company. To the Blizzard women who experienced any of these things, I'm extremely sorry I failed you. I realize that... Yeah, go on.
I was going to say, just from what he said there, is more of a... He's addressed the issue already in a way. He's not saying he did say obviously me, but he's taking that upon himself in a way of going, I am sorry. But as it goes to the other guy, he didn't really say sorry. The main guy, he's saying, I was involved. Was it me?
Yeah. It's it's not a complete 180, but already this is a much better
statement,
much better response.
Yeah, definitely.
Just by the fact that he actually acknowledges the issue, like you said.
That's what I had to interject, because it's nice to hear that he gives a shit, really.
Yeah. It's there's just generally, so far, there's a little bit more to the statement, but so far it's just there's a lot more of a sense of taking responsibility. Like he says, it's the responsibility of leadership to keep a safe environment, to stamp out toxicity and harassment. That's already a lot better than JAB's statement, which was basically just saying I hate the culture, I'm fighting against it.
But did you do anything to try and prevent it?
but never validated it existed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it still happened under him. Like, I would say, it's like these are words. He literally goes on to say, I realize that these are just words, but that's true. It's like a good response does not absolve him of accountability in the situation. Like, if it still happened under him, it's a problem.
Yeah,
like, he's at least done a lot better to acknowledge the fact that it happened under him, and he takes a degree of responsibility for the incidents that occurred.
And that takes guts to do, because you can protect yourself as much as, but he's hasn't necessarily said that it didn't happen, but he has said he's done all he did what he could. We hope that he did what he could at that time when he was leader of the company to prevent it. You know, and I guess some more agree that people should hopefully provide him a little bit more respect than the current CEO, because I don't know, I just after what you've said, I don't really know where I stand with this new guy. I don't really trust him. But
no, it's like he has got the best public sentiment before this, J. Allen Brack, and he certainly doesn't now, it's safe to say. But going on to finish the statement, say, I realize that these are just words, but I wanted to acknowledge the women who had awful experiences. I hear you, I believe you, and I'm so sorry to have let you down. See, roll the credits. Roll the credits. No, but that's already a miles better than any statement
those last few lines that he said could mean everything to some people out there in regards to who was affected.
Yeah,
like it is sort of like him in a way. It's just, that is 100% one of the nicest most respectful things you could say in that situation.
Yeah,
not just like, oh, shut up, yeah, sure. Like, he's gone, I'm like me, like a lot, like I've been for most of this podcast speechless, and I'm terribly sorry, you know, that this has happened. And that's what he's said in a way. He's put his arms out and gone, look, I know, you know, and that, again, that just takes guts to say. Like, he hasn't, I don't know. How we ended that was beautiful. I'd say.
And not to get too psychological, too analytical on it, but it's like you can tell, like, the massive contrasts. Like, the statements from anyone inside the company have very much been like gaslighty, in a sense that they've absolved themselves of blame. They're passing the blame onto others or distancing themselves entirely. But then you've got Mike over here, who is actively like acknowledging the issue, and
we all have a part.
And without getting too deep into it, like if you've been in an abusive situation, if you've been abused, like in any form, sometimes it means the absolute world, like you just said, for someone to just like validate that,
even if it's subtle.
For someone to just like even validate it and understand, like, this happened, that can mean the absolute world to someone. But because it makes them feel that they're not, like I say, not getting too much from it, but makes them feel that they're not alone, and that people do care. Because we'll be hearing the statements from Blizzard or Activision Blizzard, and they go, well, no, it's him. When it's him, you don't know where you stand, and then you start thinking you're going a bit crazy. But you start to doubt yourself, and that's when problems occur.
But to hear someone go, no, it did happen, or I believe you, I not disregarding that, it just does make you feel a bit more like, oh, okay, you know.
But
so that is a beautiful statement end. I'd say
there was a little bit more to it. There's a little bit more. So I want to hear your stories if you're willing to share them. As a leader in our industry, I can and will use my influence to help drive positive change and to combat misogyny, discrimination, and harassment wherever I can. So a bit of context to that point is like, after he left Blizzard, he went to go and head his own studio, and one of their mission statements is centered around like employee experiences, like having the best work environment possible. So that's just a bit of context to that point. So I believe we can do better, and I believe the gaming industry can be a place where women and minorities are welcomed, included, supported, recognized, rewarded, and ultimately unimpeded from the opportunity to make the types of contributions that all of us join this industry to make. I want the mark I leave on this industry to be something we can all be proud of. Mike. Yeah, that's Mike's statement, and that's like a mile better than anything Blizzard has come out with.
100%. Like he said that he wants to use his platform, his level of his level of followers, whatever, for the good, and be there for those that are affected for it, which is massive step up from what the other guy said. Massive. That's beautiful words.
Yeah, say, of course, look, and with that, it goes without saying that like words should precede action. So when action comes, then we can judge on that. But it's like as far as the statement goes,
it's good to hear.
As far as the statement goes, this is a lot better. It doesn't it doesn't say that this didn't happen. Say it's like it acknowledged the issue. It doesn't absolve him of responsibility. Like there's still issues, there's still core issues because this happened under him, and it doesn't absolve him of responsibility of that. But it's,
oh god, no.
It's good to see. It's like as far as statements go, it's really good. It's good to see.
Yeah, it's a step in the right direction as it goes as well. So
yeah. So we talked about Blizzard's response. We've talked about like an ex Blizzard leader. Let's talk about the actual employees for a second. So obviously they're the ones affected by all this, and they actually signed a letter to like in support of the lawsuit. In support of the lawsuit.
I think I read something where Ubisoft, however people say it, they had something. If I can quickly, I don't know if statement it was on, but I think you might have it. It was something about several thousand Ubisoft employees signed that petition or signed that letter, to acknowledge that what happened. I think maybe. Do you have something on that?
We'll get onto that.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
I think to understand that, we need to understand what happened, like the response of the employees affected by it first.
Right. So, fair enough.
So it's like we got the actual letter that the employees rallied behind as a form of petition and support. So I believe that. So, like, they wish to remain anonymous in most of the statements they gave, but here's the actual letter here. We, the undersigned, agree that the statements from Activision Blizzard and their legal counsel regarding the DFEH lawsuit, as well as the subsequent internal statement from Francis Townsend, that's another statement from like a high-ranking employee who actually used to be, I believe they used to be an advisor to, was it JFK? Hang on. Bear with me a second.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on that, I'm afraid.
No, she was the former advisor to George Bush.
Okay, wow.
Homeland Security advisor, and is now vice president for corporate affairs at ActiBlizz, Activision Blizzard. But yeah, she made another statement which was even worse than JL and Brax, for the sake of both time and for the sake of its contents, we're going to omit it. We're going to omit it from this episode.
Yeah.
But anyway, their legal counsel regarding DFEH lawsuit, as well as the subsequent internal statement from Francis Townsend, are abhorrent and insulting to all we believe our company should stand for. To put it clearly and unequivocally, our values or employees are not accurately reflected in the words of actions of our leadership. Which I think is true. It's like they don't even go to acknowledge the issues, let alone any like corrective action of sorts. It's like they talk about corrective action, but if you're gonna at the same breath refuse to acknowledge that these issues ever occurred, then that means nothing. It's like you're playing double standard. You're playing double standard here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So going on, we believe these statements have damaged our ongoing quest for equality inside and outside of our industry. Categorizing the claims that have been made as distorted and in many cases false, that's a direct quote from Activision's statement, creates a company atmosphere that disbelieves victims. Exactly, as we said. It also casts doubt on our organization's ability to hold abusers accountable for their actions and foster a safe environment for victims to come forward in the future. These statements make it clear that our leadership is not putting our values first. Immediate corrections are needed from the highest level of our organization. There you go. That's that's like that sums it up. That sums it, what we've been saying for this past like half hour odd perfectly, nearly.
Yeah, they're just, from what I got from that, it's just Activision Blizzard are just not admitting to it, are they?
No.
And they've seen that, and if that's anonymous statement, whoever that was collectively as some people or just the one, they just don't know who to trust now in Activision, and it's just so annoying.
Yeah,
so pisses me right off, man. I just don't know what to say.
But that's fair enough. It's like, for when I initially was researching this story, when I was researching like various articles and tweetlongers and things like that, it had me in shock. Yeah, because it's like, they put up such a front. They do a really good job at putting up a really good front, and then when you find out like the slimy underbelly and how this is actually how the industry runs, like it takes adjusting to. It does take adjusting to. And while I was sort of, I had some knowledge of how it was before from things like EA and like gambling, all the way back in Battlefront 2 when that released, and some of the mismanagement stories that had come out prior, but nothing on this scale, and it still does hit you. It really does hit you. It's like this it feels like, in a way, you do feel guilty for playing games, which kind of circles back to what we were saying earlier about people who were stopping playing their property, like their IP, their games, as a manner of protest, is because when you contextualize it to some people, it can very easily feel like it's like not blood on your hands per se, but it's a similar sentiment. It's like the amount of suffering to get this game working in my hands. Yeah. And it's like you feel a secondhand guilt because of that. Yeah. And it does take a toll on you. It does.
It does, no, for sure. And like, for me, it's just, this is all new information. Like, I only briefly heard of it, and that was for a passing comment on someone's video. And like I said at the beginning, and it's like, all this information you're giving me, it's like I still haven't had time to properly comprehend it. Yeah. And all I can say is it is vile. So that's why I'm not very active right now on responses, because I don't really know what to say. I know where I stand, and it's disgusting, and but I am speechless as well. I just, I mean, sort of as the shock you must have been earlier, that's where I am at. You know?
And I want to hit on that last sentence and up to where we got to as well. It's like, immediate corrections are needed from the highest level of our organization. That's exactly what you need. You can't half-arse it in this situation, because you have to
act upon it now. Otherwise we get forgotten about.
Act on it now and at the highest level, because you think these companies, they're very much like a pyramid. Like with most large companies, like conglomerates, they act very much like a pyramid. And if the top of the pyramid is poisoned, that's going to trickle down to everything else. So you have to address it as the highest level if you're actually going to meaningfully get any change. Because like you can kick out the bad actors at the bottom level, you can kick out the bad actors at the mid level, but if you've got a bad apple at the top, you're still going to get those cracks. You're still going to get those bad players moving in, because you've got that enabler at the very top of the food chain.
Exactly. Yeah, so it needs to be dealt with ASAP, because
the immediate effect.
And I hope it bloody does. That's all I can say. Like, I hope it bloody does.
To move on, say our company executives have claimed that actions will be taken to protect us, but in the face of legal action and the troubling official responses that followed, we no longer trust that our leaders will place employee safety above their own interest. To claim this is a truly meritless and irresponsible lawsuit, while seeing so many current and former employees speak out about their own experiences regarding harassment and abuse, is simply unacceptable. Nothing to add to that. yeah, again, perfectly summarizes what we've been saying so far, and the false equivalence at play here and the double standards that are rife right now. We call for official statements that recognize the seriousness of these allegations and demonstrate compassion for victims of harassment and assault. We call on Frances Townsend to stand by our word, as per her statement, to step down as executive sponsor of the ABK Employee Women's Network as a result of the damaging nature of her statement. And we call on the executive leadership team to work with us on new and meaningful efforts that ensure employees, as well as our community, have a safe place to speak out and come forward. We stand with all our friends, teammates, colleagues, as well as our members of our dedicated community who have experienced mistreatment or harassment of any kind. We will not be silenced, we will not stand aside, and we will not give up until the company we love is a workplace we can all feel proud of to be a part of again. We will be the change.
Oh yeah.
And exactly. To date, that's signed by over 2,000 internal employees.
Wow.
So it shows how much momentum both inside and outside of the company, because that's what you've got to think.
I think it's come to the point for them, obviously, and rightly so. Like, enough is enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, they want to enjoy where they work, but if they're in fear that they can't, they want to make a massive change, and it needs to happen now. Otherwise, it will never happen.
Yeah,
as simple as that. Like,
the other thing you've got to think of as well is. To my knowledge, as actually it says here in the article, is that Activision Blizzard had 9,500 employees at the end of last year, and 2,000 of those have signed this internal letter. But you got to think that to have that proportion, because it also 20% of their workforce at this current time is women or marginalized groups. So to think that massive amount of people, is 2,000 people, is still a ton of people. That's what people forget.
It's a lot of people.
That, like, it's very easily to get desensitized to, like, especially in the social media spaces, like where we are. It's like you get very desensitized very quickly. It's like you're not talking serious numbers if you're talking hundreds of thousands or millions. But even like 2,000 people is a lot of people.
A lot. That's a lot. Like, it's not like. Yeah, as individual people have seen that there's a massive bloody issue here, and they've gone out of their darnest way to sign the petition. 100%. Yeah, and not only a massive amount of people.
Yeah, that's 2,000 people that have seen the problem and had the balls to put themselves on the line to sign that letter. You think there's probably hundreds more, there's probably thousands more in that workforce, who are just in a compromised position where they can't speak up about it, or just don't have the confidence that they're going to be secure. Because at the end of the day, it's the brutal reality of it is that if you have dependents, so it's like if you were a developer, and I imagine like this is a case with a lot of the developers, it's like if you've got dependents, like if you've got a partner, if you've got children, if you've got older family as well who you have to care for example, because I can't speak to how it works in America, but where a lot of these employees operate is like, and we know the American healthcare system has been a lot of contention and not the greatest service imaginable. But to be in their position, and it's like for 2,000 of these employees to have the confidence to actually put themselves on the line by signing this letter, that speaks volumes.
Yeah, 2,000 people that have signed that has probably got to, and had what I'm trying to say is like it's the 2,000 people that have signed that has put hope in maybe another 1,000, and it will have a massive knock-on effect because they'll feel more confident in the fact that maybe they'll get opportunity to sign it, or that they can, and they're not alone. And it's all about it's subtle, but it's a move. It's moving it forward. It's keeping it alive and making sure that it does get sorted. The 2000's massive, absolutely massive.
I mean, well, it's that whole sentiment of it only takes one match to start a fire, right?
Yeah, 100%.
It's like 100%. With a lot of situations like this, it only takes one whistleblower to start an investigation and to get it. So, like, you imagine this would have started out as one whistleblower going to citing a complaint or going to an investigative firm. And like, this is all speculation. I want to stipulate this part is my speculation, but this very may well have all started by just one whistleblower going to like a private firm or going to California State and saying, look, here's this problem, I'm blowing the whistle on it, let's get this looked into. And to go from that to over 2,000 employees now who have openly signed this letter, probably thousands more waiting in the wings, but just not being in a position yet where they can sign it. It does, we're circling back, but it does speak volumes. And
definitely,
this kind of ties into the sort of next segment, which is acknowledging that it's an industry-wide problem, because Ubisoft actually jumped in. Yeah. Ubisoft jumped in. It's like, as you said earlier, now we can get into it.
Yeah.
Now we can get into it. Perfect. So with that context of like the employee letter and how many people rallied behind that, now we can talk about how it's made an impact on the wider industry and specifically Ubisoft, because employees of Ubisoft also signed a letter. So to my knowledge, it's over 500 current and former Ubisoft employees have signed a letter standing in solidarity with Blizzard employees and calling for action, not just against Activision Blizzard and not just against Ubisoft, because for context as well, again, Ubisoft have also come under their fair share of harassment and scandals.
Yeah.
They have had their fair share, and it's disgusting to say that like in such a nonchalant way. It's like, oh, they've had their fair share of scandals, but no, they have had issues with harassment and toxicity in the workplace, likewise to Blizzard. Well, not on this public profile, seemingly, or they've managed to be somewhat successful in the fact that they've let it die down. They've still had their issues. So this is, again, it's like it calls on the wider industry, not just the individual companies, to actually take action. So let me read you the statement here.
Yeah, go.
To the workers of Activision Blizzard, we hear you and want to loudly declare our solidarity with you. Over the past week, the games industry has once again been rocked by revelations that have long been known by too many of us. Revelations that a year ago many were hearing about Ubisoft. See, there you go. It is clear from the frequency of these reports that there is a widespread and deeply ingrained culture of abusive behavior within the industry. It should no longer be a surprise to anyone, employees, executives, journalists, or fans, that these heinous acts are going on. It's time to stop being shocked. We must demand real steps to be taken to prevent them. Those responsible must be held accountable for their actions. I think it's like commendable, not just the fact that they are standing in solidarity with ActiBlizz employees, not just the fact that they're acknowledging that, oh, Ubisoft had the issues, but that they're calling on the wider industry, like the entire industry. They're acknowledging and say, go on.
I was going to say, because as you were probably going to say yourself, like if it's happening, as it did happen with Ubisoft allegedly, or it has happened with Activision, there can't be only places affected. There's how many publishers out there, how many studios, how many independent developing companies. It's an issue in every workplace, regardless if it's gaming. It happens every single day. It's probably happening right now. Do you know what I mean? So it needs to be something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah.
Now, tomorrow, every day, in the future, indefinitely, because it's unacceptable.
Yeah. So
as straight as it is.
Yeah. So it's like you hit on it pretty much perfectly. It's like, if it happened in these two major publishers, what's to say it's not happening in other major publishers? What's to say it's not happening in indie devs? What's not to say that the entire industry
everywhere
is susceptible to the problem? And acknowledging that the entire industry has a problem, because it's like, one is an isolated incident, two is a cause for concern. It's like that's the sort of, I think that's the thinking behind that. Like I said, it's like, it's time to stop being shocked, because we've had stories like this come out for years upon years now.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, as shocking as it is, it's like it calls for time to stop being shocked, in the sense that it shouldn't be a surprise to you, but it's still like it still shouldn't desensitize what's actually going on as well.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, to move on. So, we believe you, we stand with you and support you. To the management of Ubisoft, we the undersigned have had enough. It has been over a year since the first revelations of systemic discrimination, harassment and bullying within Ubisoft came out. At the time, you acted surprised to hear of these acts going on within your own company, and we gave you the benefit of the doubt. However, we have seen nothing more than a year of kind words, empty promises, and an inability or unwillingness to remove known offenders. We no longer trust your commitment to address these issues at their core. You need to do more. See, that's got exact identical echoes to Blizzard, and that just speaks more to the point that it's an industry-wide problem. It's not just these isolated incidents. It's like they both got the exact same.
One-off.
Yeah, they both got the exact same structure. It's like it feels like a badly written sequel. It feels like a badly written movie sequel.
No, it does for sure. Yeah, and I think what's best, what makes it better is like, I don't know if I listened to it wrong when you were reading, but like Ubisoft have said, if there was like if it happened and it didn't get like an effect wasn't put in place straight away, I'm like, well, I'm sorry about that. Like, as a Ubisoft have apologized for that, and they said, but we're not going to let this one slide now. We're going to do what we can to make sure that it does get sorted. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
going through their experience with it, it's something to be taken seriously. Is where I think I mean with that. Yeah, so it's a very well written statement.
Yeah,
to be fair, I'd say much better than the other guys.
Yeah.
Stupid one.
Say to go on with the rest of it, because it does go on for a while.
It
has all the necessary detail, but to move on. Commit no longer trust your commitment to address these issues at the core. You need to do more. That does not mean more training sessions that go ignored by the people who need them most. And that does not mean more reassurances and kind words. It means real, impactful action. The only way to fix something so ingrained is to remove the pillars that are complicit with it, be it by actively taking part 100%. Or by supporting it. Yeah, exactly what we've been saying, and what
that made, as soon as you said that, made me think of what was it? Something about, it was a line about training, was it? He said,
yeah, it's like like the original Blizzard statement where they said that they put in training programs and meetings with teams. Yeah,
it's not really going to solve it, is it?
Yeah,
you know, it's partly one part of the issue, but the issue isn't just that. It needs to be opened up bigger. And you know that there's more to it than just a bit of training. It's acknowledging the industry issue and all the other problems that so it's good that he's acknowledged that. They've acknowledged,
it's exactly like we said. It's like training, like those sorts of training or corrective action is not going to do anything. It's what we've been saying for the majority of this episode. It's like, it's not going to do anything because, as the statement says, the people that need it the most are going to ignore it because that behavior is so ingrained into them that it's not going to have an effect on them. It's like, it's going to glance over them, or it's going to be like, okay, I'll keep that in mind, and then within 2 days it's back to the same.
Exactly.
Yeah. So to remove the pillars that are complicit.
Remove the pillars. That was a bit actually as well. Yeah, remove the pillars. So what? 100% remove the people that are causing the issue in the company. Find out who they are.
Yeah.
And get rid of them.
Yeah. And
don't keep the workplace.
Yeah, and this hits on
background checks.
That ties into what they said earlier: an inability or unwillingness to remove known offenders. So not only finding out who they are, but actually having the wherewithal to say, like, this is a problem, you're out. Like that's actually not like a little sweet deal on the side.
You have messed up. If they find out who it is, you have messed up. Get out. Because they're representing the company, and they've put a bad name on that. So why, logically, would the chairman want them still in the company and stuff like that? You know.
That being said, it's like in the case of Activision Blizzard, this is the same chairman that took, I believe it's $120 million in bonuses, and yet in the same year, laid off 800 employees. So,
okay. Well, yeah.
yeah.
High hopes there then.
Yeah, so like really hits on the notion that it's a systemic issue. But to keep going.
Yeah,
This is not only a matter of process, focus groups, PR management, or education. This is a matter of people's lives, their mental and physical health. By choosing profit over our security, you are literally toying with our lives. We should not have to choose between work and our safety. See, I feel like the company would call that out for false equivalence, but that's not false equivalence. That is the truth. As we literally saw in the original ActiBlizz lawsuit, someone took their own life over the abuse that they were facing at the company. So that's not false equivalence.
God, that's... that has to. No, way. That has to say, that has to state how much abuse she must have got to drive her to that point. You know, it awful and sad to the fact that the podcast it has to go so low. But how low have you made that person go to the point where she's done that?
Yeah, and it's a case of yeah, it's a case of it's like they'll call out false equivalence, but they have sadly
taken a life.
Tragically, it's literally been proven that it is not false equivalence. Like this is the real deal. They are literally toying with lives at that stage.
Yeah, it's sort of it's not. It's not too much of a sidetrack, but on in a real serious note, it's the same. With this is probably going to sound really out of place, but we're Love Island at the moment, and all the countless abuse that they get after they leave the show, where so many people have committed suicide because of that. The harassment they got outside of the show, it's the exact same sort of similar situation to what could have been happening in this workplace or was happening. But how far did it go for that to happen? Like you just, it's disgusting. It doesn't even cover. There isn't a word that I have in my vocabulary that quite grasps how annoyed that makes. How annoyed I am.
Yeah,
with
without getting too deep into it, it's like it's like there is. It seems like big companies feel that the profits can outweigh morality.
Yeah,
I think that's
sure.
a massive thing. It's like profit.
Good way of putting it.
If they're making enough money, then human rights, workers' rights be damned.
Don't worry about it.
But that's another topic for another day. I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. No. But it's just. Go on.
You say so. Next passage of the statement. We have stood by and watched as you fired only the most public offenders. You let the rest either resign or worse, promoted them, moved them from studio to studio, team to team, giving them second chance after second chance with no repercussions. This cycle needs to stop. Exactly. We, the collective employees of Ubisoft, demand a seat at the table when it comes to deciding how to move forward from here. The offenders need to be removed from the company, along with those who are complicit in or willfully ignorant of the actions of others. As the management, it is your role to see these acts going on and take action. Ignorance is not an excuse, not in law, and certainly not in the eyes of your employees. Yeah, that's the other thing, is that they will do, companies like this in this situation, they will do whatever they have to do just to save face. So it stipulates in that open letter, it's stood by and watched as only you fired the most public of offenders, and then in the case of not non-disclosed offenders or minor infractions, say move them from studio to studio, give them the option to resign with a severance package. It's still let them get off easy.
Solve?
Yeah, it's what does that? It solves the company's woes in the fact that hey, look guys, we got rid of the massive abuser at our company. Don't look at the other 42. And that's all that solves. All that solves is the company's public image, their public relations.
Yeah, of course it does.
In that situation, and that's all.
All you've done is taken out the problem and put it somewhere else. Because what's to say they're not going to do it again in another industry, another publisher, another company in general? Yeah. That doesn't solve anything.
Yeah, it's like if I had an explosive in a train and everyone
got
annoyed.
Take that explosive, put it in another carriage, problem solved. The carriage is saved.
Yeah, it's like if I had a southeastern train, and people discovered there was an explosive in car 1. If the train driver said, "Don't worry, guys, we've moved the explosive to car 7. Don't worry about it," everyone's going to lose their minds. Yeah, it's like, oh, great, brilliant, guys, real good job.
You've done it.
Yeah, that's not solving the problem. That's just moving it to another car's problem in this
shuffling
scenario. Yeah, that's not a solution. That's just a sort of kicking the can down the road kind of thing.
Yeah.
Until the next person gets found out, and then rinse and repeat.
It's just knock on repeat. Yeah, rinse and repeat. Knock on effect.
Yeah.
God's sake.
To finish up the statement, we need real fundamental changes within Ubisoft, within Activision Blizzard, and across the industry. To this end, we propose that Activision Blizzard, Ubisoft, and other industry-leading publishers and developers collaborate and agree to a set of rules and processes for handling reports of these offences. This collaboration must heavily involve employees in non-management positions and union representatives. That's a big point, having a union involved. I think that's something that's really needed. It's like a form of unionization in this scenario. But
definitely,
this is essential to ensure that those who are directly affected by these behaviors are leading the change. Signed by following current and former Ubisoft employees, many of whom have left due to the conditions faced and lack of action being taken. And then obviously you would have the names, but like I say those are omitted for safety reasons.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's kind of scary. It's like that's at this point in time, at the time of recording, that's where we're up to. That's where we're up to the whole thing.
Yeah,
and I don't even, you can't condense this into like a 60-second take that I would say, okay, what's your final words on it? You can't even condense it to that. It's
no, you can't.
It's such a deep and nuanced issue. Well, I say nuanced, but it's such like a deep issue that like
it's deep. It's such a deep issue. It's hard not to go on about it without getting too deep onto other things that you know. Because everyone, I think, has had an issue with harassment and that, and I think the only way this can ever get solved is if the community keeps it alive and makes sure that it gets circulated, you know, because that's the only way, I think. It can't get forgotten about.
Yeah. I think that the way that this is going to change is, well, in this case, legal intervention, but it shouldn't have to come to the point of a retroactive, because this is the thing. The fact that it's an investigation means that it's retroactive action, because they've had to have someone whistleblow on the action that was already going on for them to have a look at this and conduct this 2-year investigation to then say, okay, this is the problem. And it's good that it's being said, but it needs to be shot at the source. And so to that end, I think that final letter from the Ubisoft employees brings up a very good point, is that like I hit on at the end of the statement, is you like having a union or some form of collaboration between these publishers and maybe in between legislators, like get the law involved, as that's seemingly what has to be done to ensure that something actually gets done, to make sure that there's a proper conduct and process to ensure that the victims of this kind of abuse are heard out, are understood, are in a safe environment to ensure that they can actually speak out about their experiences, and the action is proper action is taken. That there's no real other way.
That's it.
Yeah, that's
it. That is, as it is in stone. That is the only way. Simple as that. I don't think there's anything else.
Yeah.
There isn't another solution.
I do want to stipulate to our viewers, this is like, seeing as this is an ongoing issue, like both in the case of the ActiBlizz lawsuit, this is going to develop over the coming weeks and days, and in the industry as a whole. So, and to that end, it should be a conversation. So if like at any point, feel free pause the podcast or on Spotify, or if you're watching on YouTube, feel free to join the conversation in the comments. Because this is a conversation and like it should be talked about. So to that end, I leave it at that. So short of any final statements you wanted to make on the matter, George?
Just anyone, the listeners, thank you for listening. I hope you guys do get involved and keep this going, basically, as I keep saying, because this needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I do want to extend a thank you as well to anyone who's listened all the way to the end.
It's a heavy listen.
Yeah, say I do understand that this podcast has generally been very lighthearted. It's been very what's the right word for it? But it's been like sort of very lighthearted.
Yeah,
it's got very much of a jokey demeanor to it.
Yeah, sort of just whatever. But there's certain opportunities where we can't be like that, and I think this is definitely one of them.
This is one of the times where we have to tone it back. We have to be serious about the issue, and because like this is an industry we care about, and this is something that we deeply care about and is deeply troubling.
It's a lot like my childhood is entirety from all of this, from Activision being a massive part of my childhood. So for me, hearing about this, it does put a really bad taste in your mouth, and a sour taste, if any, and it's just something that needs to be addressed. Needs to happen, needs to change now, not tomorrow. Well, tomorrow, but you know what I mean, like right now it has to have a impact.
But yeah, I'd say this is definitely our heaviest episode to date, so once again, a massive thank you to our listeners, and we're going to leave it there for this evening. So, with much love and much respect, we will see you in 2 weeks. Ta-ta for now.
Adios. Goodbye.